Good morning. Welcome. Today is Friday, April 24th, and it's day 24 of the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Now, I'll say this, we're a couple days behind. So today we're going to finish day 21, which is pagination and load more. And we are going to do our very best to, where are you here? I had you pulled up. Wow, it's a little anticlimactic, isn't it? We're going to do our very best to do the conditional form fields, which were originally called, what were they originally called? Hang on. I don't even remember what they were originally called because they changed the name. So they were originally called, wow, banger of a start, multi-step form. Okay, so here's the thing. I was building these pages this morning, and as you may or may not know, if you've been here before, I partnered with ChatGPT to come up with these mini projects, right? And I just flat out told ChatGPT this morning, listen, I need some easy projects because I've had a couple of stressful days. Things just got complicated real quick. I need things that are just a little bit easier because I'm behind. First of all, I'm 2 days behind. I want to try to get caught up, and I would like to practice without all of these layers of complexity. So anything with indexing, I'm learning where I have to go forwards and backwards. I can absolutely do that, but that's more complicated. It's more complicated for me. I need more time to think about that. And I'm also learning what is good to do on stream and what is good to do off stream. Here's the thing about working on things that are just a little more complicated. And if you're a developer, you've been there, you know. You need to be able to stare at something for 20 minutes without a lot of pressure. You need to be able to console log 25 things that don't work in order to learn and to move forward with the task, right? So some of these things are just really hard to do on stream. They're not too hard for me to do, absolutely solving these problems, but it's just a bit too much on stream. So, I had to have this. I mean, I've always felt a lot of pressure to learn new things on stream, to do that type of problem solving on stream. I thought this 30 days of vanilla JavaScript would get me over it. Really, it reinforced it for me. And there's like nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing to learn and understand about myself. So on the one hand, I'm grateful that I decided to do this because I think it's very clear that I've gotten much more comfortable with JavaScript and the things are clicking. But also, it's reinforced what I should be doing on stream and what I should not be doing on stream. So would I never do something new on stream? Of course not. I think I should still be showing problem solving. But I feel like I have a clear picture now of the type of complexity that I would like to do privately, I think is what I'm saying. Especially now that I am more comfortable with JavaScript, I absolutely want to be solving these problems, and I will continue to do that, but probably some of it will be a little more private. That being said, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing a lot more problem solving in the builds that we do, the static builds that we do. So more render, more transform, fetch, transform, render. I love that. I absolutely love that. I want to get better at moving forward and backwards and being able to do the math a little quicker and have things click a little quicker. I think if I work on those things privately and then challenge myself with new projects or new tasks on stream, things will click a little better, as opposed to me trying to grasp it for the first time on stream, if that makes sense. So that's why I changed this task to conditional form fields. So what we're going to do instead is, as we answer questions, we are going to conditionally show fields related to the questions that are being answered. It's a little more render the DOM type logic, and that's exactly what I asked ChatGPT for. I said, give me something that I'm more comfortable with, but that is still qualifies as a task or a challenge or a project, right? And these types of conditional forms are absolutely out there everywhere. We've all seen them. We've all used them. So I think that's a good project. We're also going to work on the debounced search input. And we are going to I guess we're going to recycle or refactor day 7, which was filterable list. So I basically copied in this markup for debounced search input. I got the requirements from ChatGPT, and it's really going to be more of a refactor. So we will go ahead and rewrite this code here. And I've already learned to do, look at how many things I've learned to do differently since day 7. So what was that, 2.5 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago? Yeah. I already see things here where I'm like, oh, I've actually learned a better way to do that. So we're going to basically refactor the filterable list and include the debounced search input, which I have learned is that you wait for the user to finish typing, right? So it's a set timeout. So that'll be fun. And I think it'll be, again, a little bit lighter. First, I want to finish the pagination and load more. So, you know, spoiler alert, I worked on this yesterday after the stream. Well, first of all, I'll go ahead and share this link in the chat if you would like to go ahead and follow along. And let's pull up our actual development environment. Here we go. I worked on this yesterday afternoon because I just really wanted to. So I did a little refactoring yesterday, and then where are we here? Can't talk and think at the same time. This is pagination load more. So I finished up the pagination part of this, and I'll just sort of walk you through, and then we will add load more. And luckily the pagination part of this was the hardest part of this. So I'll show you first in the UI how things are looking. So I changed this to, I also did a little bit of light styling. So we have 30 items in the data API. So here's our API if you want to take a look at that. We have 30 items. And I set it to show 6 at a time, so that would be 5 pages. I also put in some logic. So we're disabling the buttons. So we're disabling the buttons, and we can't go beyond what's available, and we can't go less than 0 pages. 0 pages is the first page, right? So we can go forward, and I put in the count also, forward, and then next, we've reached the end, and then we can do the same thing with previous, and then we've reached the first page. I also left the console logs in because I don't know, I just find it incredibly helpful to, especially on a teaching site, educational site, development site. I just don't think there's anything wrong with leaving your console logs in. So if people want to come and test the functionality, and this was incredibly helpful for me to understand the logic. So on load, we're on page 0. We know that there's going to be 5 pages, 5 times 6 is 30. So by page 4, next gets this disabled attribute. Now we can go backwards. We're back on page 0. Previous now gets the disabled attribute. So I find this incredibly helpful. So I'm leaving it in. Let's see here. Let's just take a peek at the logic. So I did move these variables out, so these are global. So let page equal 0, and then items per page. This is really the only static thing, right? We decide how many items per page we want. We had some logic in the count and slice data function for calculating the total items, and it wasn't being used here, so I pulled that out. So this is just count, slice, and data, return visible. We are just returning the data that we're going to show, the slice start and end, and that's what we loop through to render. I pulled out all of the render logic into its own function because I need to reuse it for load more, and I didn't want to repeat it, so that made sense to me to do that. And we're going to add a little more, we're going to add extra query selectors for the load more here, but everything else is going to stay the same. That's this appending, everything stays the same. We have to put in a condition for this. We're going to have to change how we're scoping this. Right now I'm scoping everything to pagination, so we're going to change how we're scoping this. We obviously have to make sure that we are not clearing that items div in order to load more. We only clear the items div on the pagination. So we'll have to put in a little bit of logic for that. Otherwise, nothing else here is going to change. And I changed a little bit of markup around, added a couple classes for styling, nothing really consequential. Then we have our initialization. So I left the to do in, which is basically, we'll also want to prevent the page from going below 0 and above the last page. Otherwise your slice can go weird or empty. So that's the logic that I did here. On page load, I made sure that previous was disabled because on page load we're on page 0, right? So we don't want to go below that. And I'm making sure that next is explicitly not disabled. Here's the total pages, and we want to make sure that we're rounding up. So we have the data length divided by the items per page, which we set up here at 6. We could change that to anything. I went with 6. Here's where I'm just console logging those counts. And then for the previous button, I could not combine these if statements. I tried. So the first if statement is just that if we're on a page that's greater than 0, then we can go backwards. We want to render the UI, and we want to make sure that next disabled is false. So we don't want next to be disabled. If the page equals 0, the previous button is disabled, so we can't go backwards. So we're not allowed to go backwards anyways, but also I want to disable that button. And yeah, I could not combine those steps. Believe me, I tried. And then for next, if the page is, did I say less than here? I meant greater than. Page is greater than 0. Here, if page is less than total pages minus 1, because the index count starts at 0, then we can go forward, render the UI, make sure the previous button is not disabled because we need to be able to go backwards, right? But if the page is equal to the total number of pages, again, minus 1, then make sure that next button is disabled and we can't go beyond the count. And then here's our render the UI on page load. So really what we need to do is we need to make sure to do the load more. We have to put in our load more button, and that will be the third click event. And then we just need to shimmy around some of the scoping here in our render function, and we'll be done. And guys, it makes sense. It all makes sense. That's the most exciting part. It's not needing help. It's that I got help and it still makes sense. Because I don't love copying and pasting code. And listen, if I'm on a job or I'm at work or whatever I'm doing and I'm in a pinch, give me the code. Just give me the code, and I just need to see that it's working, okay? I have no problem with that. But for something that's designed specifically for teaching, learning, understanding, it's tough to like get help. I just want the JavaScript fairy dust to sprinkle down on me from the ether and make it all make sense. That's not how it works. So sometimes I get help, and as long as I understand what's happening, like, that's the win. And I think also making sure that in future projects I'm doing this. That's the cool thing about pagination, is it's not as complicated as I thought it was. I mean, to me, pagination has always been extremely complex, and it also depends on how it's being presented to you, right? Because I've worked with a lot of APIs where there was built-in pagination to the API, and what we did here wouldn't work with that. That's a different kind of pagination that you have to take into account from your data source, because if, let's say you have an API with 1,000 or more than 1,000 entries, which is normal, typical, the API calls are going to be split into chunks, right? You're only going to get 50 at a time. Maybe you can get 99 at a time. But if you have thousands of thousands of entries. Of course, you can't load all 1,000 at once and then do this kind of logic to just shimmy through and render in place. You can't do that. But I think it's also typical to get data like this, where maybe you're dealing with, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 blog posts. And this type of render would be totally appropriate. You're not rendering the entire blog post. You're rendering like a snippet, right? Like think of WordPress. And if you've ever built a WordPress theme where you have it's called an archive view. So you have your blog view, which is like the core archive view. Then you have a category view and a tag view. Those are just taxonomies, right? But you're doing the same thing. You're just rendering snippets based on a category or based on a tag. Or maybe you're just rendering the archive view, which is the last in, last out descending view of a blog, right? This is perfect for that. This is perfect for that. Or if you're just building a static website like I like to do, and you have an API, or for our practice sites, I'll start making local JSON files and we will absolutely practice this. I think it's really, really cool. I'm glad to know it. So that was a lot. I hope that wasn't too much. I think it's cool. I'm enjoying this so much. So let me say good morning. Andrew Irwin is here. Good morning. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks for coming to hang out. Malik Robinson is also here. Let's keep up the work. He is our mod in the chat. Go, Elmo. And I was chit-chatting this morning on in the DMs over on Instagram with Malik. And he sounds like he's having such a good time at his internship. He's on the design team. He's getting development tasks. He's get his pull requests in the official organization GitHub repo are being accepted and merged, which is so cool. It sounds like he's getting a lot of really good experience. So happy for him. Always happy to see a junior developer or any developer looking for a job getting a job. So being a part of the organization, and especially getting your pull requests merged, that's obviously huge. So, okay. Well, here's the deal. Today is very much structured to be a lighter day. It is also very much structured to attempt to get caught up. I really want to get through all three of these things today, and here's the thing. I got nothing on the calendar this afternoon. I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. My allergies are insane. My Costco Claritin is doing nothing for me. It could be making things worse. I'm not even sure. Other than that, I got nothing else on the calendar today. So the only thing I have to whine about are my itchy nose and watery eyes. And I got a box of Kleenex here for that. So I really want to push through today and get these three things done. And I think that's totally doable, seeing as how I very intentionally structured them to be lighter days. So are we here for it? Are we here for it? I think we are. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do our load more. So we'll have the load more and the pagination on the same page. And you know what? I think that's also good, because I'm going to digress just for one quick moment, because this came up when we were working on the scroll interactions and the scroll progress indicator. Somebody said, oh, do those two things work together? They do. I think it's also, I'm glad that I built this UI components page, which has everything. So we can actually see all the JavaScript that we've written interact, like not interfering with one another, which I think means that I did a good job scoping and we don't have like things clashing. So you can see here that scroll progress bar and the scroll interactions, and here's our local JSON. Here's this is my favorite thing that we've done this whole time. Day 17, load video in place. I can't. It's hands down, it is my absolute favorite thing that I've done so far. Here's our scroll to top button, our count. Remember, can you believe that the button counter was a mere 23 days ago? Oh my gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago. Our accordion is working. Here's our modal dialogue. So everything is working all on the same page. I think that's so cool, because if you were building UI components like this for a content management system, And the organization content creators were just like, once you turn a CMS over to the content creators, it's a, you say a little prayer to the development gods. Anything could happen. Those content creators and marketing people, they are going to use your components and modules in ways that you never even dreamed possible. That's where the real bugs come out. That's where the real things really start to happen. So if you can at least build a page like this, and I did, this was not intentional. I just thought, oh, we should put everything on one page. I get now. Put it all on one page. Make sure it all works together. Because once people start actually building things and adding content to that CMS, you're going to be shocked at the things that people do. So my point though is that we see all these things working, right? Oh, the sortable tables. Oof, that was a rough one. That was a rough one. I think sortable tables was the worst. I mean, I wouldn't call the image gallery, the image lightbox gallery viewer the worst, because oh, and I was updating URLs yesterday. I have to fix that. I wouldn't call this the worst because I feel like I got 80% of the way there on my own. I just needed help with that final piece of logic. This needs a little extra styling too. I'm going to have to set aside a good day or two after we're done and go through and like refine a lot of styles, which is completely fine. I think this was also really fun, our social sharing links. So yeah, it's nice to see everything working all on one page. Very happy with that. So, okay, let's get back to it. Load more. Load more. Let's finish. Let's finish today. Okay. Where's our HTML? So yeah, we just have to adjust some of the scoping. That's all that we have to do. So here's our pagination container. And here is our load more container. I think what I need to do, and I also put a class here. Oh, this class though was for styling. So I could make sure that I didn't have to write separate styles. So I don't think that I need this for scoping in the JavaScript. I think I just need pagination and load more. So that's what I'm going to do. So instead of root, we're just going to change a couple of things around here. So load more equals document query selector, and then this I'm also going to change. So we're going to do load more, and I'm going to call this pagination, and then we're going to check for either of these because they happen to be on the same page. Probably you wouldn't put them both on the same page, but I am. That's why I'm doing that, right? So if there's no load more, or if there's no pagination, then we need to return. That's going to be our guard statement. So then the items, this is for pagination. So we can scope these now to their respective things, right? And I think we want to, well, actually, no. Hang on. So we are going to put I don't think we can use two divs called items. So I think these need to be more specific. Load more items and pagination items. I mean, it's static markup, so why we don't have to do anything weird there, right? So this will be pagination items, and then I don't think we have to do any logic then for this, right? We don't have to check anything. I think down here, we would just be appending to both, right? We'll try it. So this would be load. I mean, this is not a real world example. I don't think that you would put pagination and load more on the same page. So this is very much a me problem deciding to put this on the same page, right? And we don't have to clear anything. Yeah, I think this is, we don't have to check anything. We don't have to clear anything for load more because we're appending. So can I do 2 at once? Can I do both? Is it going to let me do both? Why wouldn't it? It'll let me do both, right? So we've got the articles. We're going to append them in 2 places. Right? So let's make sure that this works first. So I'm expecting to see 6 items in both places. No, hang on. Okay, let's see. What don't you like? Which thing are you complaining about? Oh, I didn't change this. And this would be the load more items. And okay, so my load more is not, why isn't my load more happening? Let's see here. Load more items. And my styles got screwed up. That's okay, I'll fix the styles. Does it not let me do this? Is it not going to let me do both? That's what I'm thinking is happening. Yeah. It's a new problem, isn't it? So do I have to do something like... I feel like this is a problem that we can solve. It won't let me do both. Yeah. Okay, I have to think about this for a second. Do I have to just do like an if statement? But I don't think that's going to work. Because even if it evaluates to true, it's still probably not going to let me do both, right? Because I need both to happen. I'm going to fix my styles while I'm thinking. The simpler solution might just be that we only show one or the other, right? Unless do I just have two different articles? One set of articles for, well, hang on, let's fix our styles. Why is this not? Probably because of pagination items. So let's look at our CSS. It's okay, I'm here for it. Oh, yeah. So I think we can just do pagination items. And load more items. And then everything else should be the same. There we go. Okay. I'm going to, I don't want to ask ChatGPT, but I think I have to. I'm going to ask a very vague question. Very vague question. Okay. Okay. I have two append methods. They both append the same items, but in two different spots on the page. They each have their own name. Load more items, pagination items. Load more items, append, and pagination, append. But only the last append method works. How can I get them both to work? Trying to keep it vague. This isn't an append problem. It's almost always a DOM node reuse problem. What's happening? A DOM element can only exist in one place at a time. So if you do something like load more items, the second line moves item. It doesn't duplicate it. Oh, Okay, that makes sense. Result, it only shows up in the last place you appended it. Option 1, most likely what you want, clone the node. Huh. Item clone equals item clone node true. Load more items, append item, pagination, append item clone. True, deep clone includes children. Now you have 2 separate elements. Option 2, create 2 elements from the start. If you're generating items, item 1, create item data. I think I'm going to do the clone method. Option 3, less common. Build HTML twice. If you're using strings or templates, just render twice. Quick sanity checks. Make sure you're not reusing the same variable reference, looping once and appending the same node twice. If you console log item before each append, it's the same object. Append doesn't copy, it moves. That's why the first append works, the second append steals it. I kind of like this. I like this clone. Let's do that. So basically we would clone the article, right? Clone article equals article clone node item clone node true. Cloning the article to show both load more and pagination on the same page. Here's our load more, and then here's our pagination. Yay, that worked. And we learned something new. That was perfect. That was perfect. Let's make sure the pagination still works. So we'll put a little CSS in here to space those apart. And our CSS is doing I intentionally made sure that we didn't need separate CSS for separate containers. So that's good. Zoom out a tiny bit here so we can see. So we should just see this second group. Uh-oh. Oh, I feel like something's not working. Yeah, this is not, is it? Oh, it's doing it to both. It's loading more and it's doing this. Okay. This is a terrible idea. This is a terrible idea. So we're actually not going to do this. You either have to have one working or the other one working. That's my executive decision. So I will make notes. I will make notes here that you have to comment out one or the other. I mean, that's what the code's for, right? So let's just make sure that we can get pagination working the way it should. There we go. So pagination is fine. Whoops. going to want to hide our buttons if that's commented out, right? How do we know it's commented out? I'm not sure yet. Let's just get load more working. So, yeah, okay, little update. Cloning works, but it's messy. Executive decision. We either have pagination or load more, not both. Not both. Yeah. Okay. So let's get our button in for the load more. Where are we at here? Yeah. So here's where we're loading our items. We'll put in a button. The type of button, we'll give this a class of button. They're already styled. We don't need an ARIA label because we're just going to add text. So there's our button. You know what we could do is we could just create these, right? Or I mean, I could just make them hidden. Just gonna make them hidden for now. And then I'll put a note here. We'll just put a note here. Yeah, so I'll do that later tonight when I'm adding the HTML and the CSS to the site, to let people know that you can test it either way, right? Because our render function I don't think that it's worth spending time on the render function to get both to work, because why would you have both on the same page? I just don't think that you would. So I think this just creates more problems. I don't think this is a good problem to solve. So instead of doing hidden on the buttons, if we're not going to show pagination, if we're just going to show one at a time, you should just hide that container, right? So let's just put a note here. So what's the note? For demo purposes only, hide the container not in use. Yeah, so people can just, if they want to test it, they can do one or the other. Yeah, it would be cool if they both worked, but maybe something more clever will come to me later on today. But for now, I think this is fine. Okay, so we have this button container. Let's just make sure that this has a little bit of styles. This is buttons are display inline blocks, so we should be able to just text align center this, I think. Let's see. It's usually the parent that you have to center, but this might work. Yeah, it's usually the parent you have to center. Let's just change the name of this to button container. And then we can share those styles. Then we don't need this. And then we can just style this. There we go. Now we're centered. We have a little divider, and that will work in either spot. Good. All right. Now I think the only thing to do is wire this up. And yeah, we do need this to say load more, right? Load more button. We are going to need that. And then we just need a click event, right? So we'll put that. So I don't think we need this. We got that figured out. So I'm going to put this here. Oh, whoops. Load more button. And I'm just going to call it load. And then we want to make sure that this is, because we want it to be disabled when we've reached the end. So I'm going to say disabled equals false to start. So on page load, it's false, which means we are going to want to do something like this probably, right? So load, add event listener, click. I feel like I kind of feel like this is our logic. We can reuse this logic. Except this is going to be, we don't need this. And that changes to that. Right? And then it appends because we're not clearing that container, right? We're just appending here. I don't know, it makes sense to me. Look at that. That worked. Nice. And then our button is disabled. So let's make sure that we can switch between the two. So I'll take hidden off here, and I'll put hidden here. Nice. We did it. Let's put a couple extra styles up here so it has a little breathing room. So we have both of these containers. We'll double these up. And I'm going to put I'll move this up. Whoops, no, I'm just going to copy it. And then we'll add a couple styles for both pagination and load more. And we'll just give it some margin and padding on the top. And I'm going to add a border on the top as well. So we'll just do 1 pixel, solid, light pink. Keep it simple. There we go. Perfect. And I'm going to leave it at pagination because I think personally the pagination is a little more exciting. So excellent. We're done with pagination. Let's move on to our conditional form fields. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I'm going to put a note here. Comment out the either load more or pagination. They don't work at the same time. There. Angela. There we go. Okay. Comment out either load more or pagination. They don't work at the same time. Perfect. I love it. Perfect for our little library. All right, let's do a commit. And then we'll move on to the next thing. Oh, it's a quiet day today. That's all right. I don't mind. Finishing the load more. All right. What's next? Day 22. Conditional form fields. So let's take a look at this. And you know, maybe now is a good time to ask people, would you be so kind as to like the video if you haven't already? Helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. When I'm not doing a 30-day vanilla JavaScript sprint, I'm usually here 4 days a week at around 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So there's that. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'd be happy to have you. So today's a quiet day, and I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind noisy days, but I like quiet days too. We gotta have a little balance, right? Okay, let's get back to it. One moment, please. All right. Conditional form fields. So let's get over to our, okay. So build a form where specific fields appear or disappear based on the user's selected answers. So the JavaScript focus is reading selected form values using change events. So I don't think we've done that before. Showing and hiding conditional sections, toggling hidden, matching selected values to field groups. Nice extras. Use radio buttons or a select menu. Use data attributes to connect answers to field groups. Add a visible active state to the selected option. Use hidden for inactive groups. We love hidden. Include one simple submit button. Keep validation light. And I'm not going to connect this to, I usually use FormSpree for all of my forms. I'm not going to connect this to FormSpree because I want the focus to be on the logic showing the correct values or the correct fields. So MDN prep change event. Let's take a look at this. I don't think I've used the change event. The change event is fired for input, select, and text area elements when the user modifies the element's value. Unlike the input event, the change event is not necessarily fired for each alteration to an element's value. Depending on the kind of element being changed and the way the user interacts with the element, the change event fires at a different moment. When an input type checkbox element is checked or unchecked by clicking or using the keyboard. Oh, so this is when it's fired. Depending on the kind of element being changed and the way the user interacts with the element, the change event fires at a different moment. So when an input type checkbox element is checked or unchecked, when an input type radio element is checked, but not when unchecked, because you can't uncheck a radio element, you can only check another radio element. That's probably why. When the user commits the change explicitly, like by selecting a value from a selects drop down with a mouse click, by selecting a date from a date picker for input type date. Okay. When the element loses focus after its value was changed, for elements where the user's interaction is typing rather than selection, such as text area. Okay. So our logic is going to be based on radio buttons. I can already tell you that. So this is what we're going to do right here. Just change and event. So here's a select. So select element, add event listener, change, event, result, text content, you like, event, target value. Okay, fair enough. Well, let's see how it goes. So here's the form, name, email, what are you interested in? And then here's the text area, here's the submit button. Let's actually take a look at our form. What are you interested in? Website. So I asked ChatGPT for markup and it gave me markup based on the type of form that it thinks I would want to build on my own website. So a website project, a consulting session, or a code review. And then we've got, so it's a radio, type radio, name inquiry. So these are all connected. Data show consulting fields, review, code reviewed fields, website fields. And then we have, here's our group, conditional group. Here are the website fields. If somebody clicks on a website project, this or this. Got it. So okay, so these are entire groups. Okay. Okay. So we would do a change event on the radio input, and if the input data set was consulting fields, then we would remove the hidden attribute from this, right? Yeah, that makes sense. No, it actually does. That sounded sarcastic. It actually does make sense. Okay. Form. So everything still says multi-step form, just because it does. So, let's make sure we're linked correctly. And we'll go back down here. Okay. So our form is going to be our root element. Conditional. Conditional form. All right, and if there's no root, then we return. Got it. Okay, so next I think we need, let's move this down here. I think this is going to be just a lot of, I think this is going to be kind of pretty easy, thank goodness. I definitely want to go back and do the multi-step form project that I think I originally intended for this. But I also just need something easy. I just need something easy today. But there was also a nice extras, which was I think we could definitely do some, keep validation light. So let's get everything working, and then let's do a little bit of validation, because we had a form validation states back on day 9. And I actually would like to refactor that a little bit. Allow me to digress. So if I do this and we get that, I should be able to hit the reset button to clear that as well. So this could actually use a little bit of refactoring, because I put the reset button in after the fact. So let's refactor this to make sure the reset button works correctly, but then also we'll add a little bit of validation to our new form once we get there. I like it. Okay, so we need to get our radio buttons, which would be queries. So we're going to get query selector all to get our radio buttons, right? Our input type name inquiry, and the data set. Yeah, so we'll call it inquiry type is equal to the root, query selector all, and this is going to be name equals It's going to be input name equals inquiry type. Right? So this should give us all of those fields. Let's check. And that's a node list, so we would for each through. Oops. Input name. Did I spell it right? As if refreshing would work. Oh, this is, hang on. Here we go. So here's our node list of our input values. Inquiry type. Just show me the values, undefined. Why aren't you showing me the values? Okay, we're getting the nodes. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. So I think we need to for each through these type. So we're going to go through each of these and then type add event listener and its change, right? The change event. So on change, we need the type. Type is equal to the well, really it's show is equal to type dataset. Why every single time that I type dataset, it does that. Dataset show. So it should be website fields. So we should be able to log the type when we click on a radio button, right? If it's listening for a click on a radio button, we should see this value. Oh, show. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. And we definitely don't want there to be a default value, right? We want people to come and check their value themselves. Okay, good. So far, so good. So that would mean then that if show is checked, then we remove. So if we just want to match up the ID, right? The attribute. So I think next we need to be able to loop through the conditional groups. So these would be the groups. And that's equal to root, query selector all, conditional groups. Conditional group, singular, conditional group. So now we would, oops, groups for each group. If, well, we need the ID, which is an attribute. So it would be if group get attribute. Okay. I feel like I get confused about get attribute all the time. How do you just get the attribute? You just get the attribute, right? So we would do const ID equals group get attribute, right? And then it would just be if the ID is equal to show, then group hidden is equal to false, right? I feel like that makes sense to me. Let's try it. No. So I need to get the attribute, probably ID, right? Yeah, which attribute? Okay, so then we have to hide the other. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. So then for the change event, we need to make sure so then as we're unhiding things, we probably just want to make sure that we're saying group hidden true first, right? So it kind of resets on click. So everything gets hidden first. Oh, that worked. Wow. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I was hoping for that. I'm always hoping for something easy. And it just never seems to happen. So, oh, we don't need this class. That's old. Wow. Obviously really happy about that. Okay, let's clean up some of our console logs. We don't need this. Thank goodness for small favors. Nice. This is so cool. This was amazing. Okay. And this finally makes sense. Just get the attribute, assign it to a variable, because I think in the past I've always been trying to like match this up with a specific value. It's just like, no, just get the value. Just get the value and then compare it, right? And then we could probably just do a little bit of light styling. Let's do a little light styling. Let's add a reset button. And we can add a little bit of light form validation. We got plenty of time. We got plenty of time. And then we'll do our debounced search input. And we're actually going to get caught up this weekend, which is pretty exciting. So let's do, yeah, let's add a reset button. So how did I'm going to look back on what day was it? Day 9. Where did I put that? So here is our day 9 markup. So here's our reset button. And it's got its own class, so that should be styled. So we'll put these also probably, yeah, we'll use the same. So now we have our reset. So if we fill these out, should be able to reset. Oh, yeah, and we're going to want to clear some of these things also, right? So I think a reset button means, so what does that mean? Well, let's start with reset, because I think whatever logic we do for reset here, we can add to our other form, which was, yeah. So this would be separate. I think this would be reset on click. We would for each through the groups and make sure that everything is hidden. So let's do that. So it's just class text button. And then we'll do that down here. Oh, and we didn't really need our event, did we? I mean, we didn't really do anything with that. Was I supposed to do something with that? Hang on. Oh, well, let's get our reset working and we'll come back and we'll see what other nice extras we can include here. Maybe we will need that after all. I don't know. Okay, so here's our click. And then our reset, we're gonna just do this again. But really, we're just going to make sure everything's hidden. There we go. And then if we reset, excellent. And then those things also get reset. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do a little bit of validation. So what kind of validation did we do here? So we had a success message. Let's see if we can let's put in these validation messages and see if we can just remember how to do it. I think I can. Well, maybe. We'll see. As soon as I say that, I immediately want to go look. So here's our success message. Your form was submitted. Okay, here's how, but we connected the other form, didn't we? And we knew that we weren't getting the response back. So yeah, we do need to go look at that. So that was the form validation. I mean, I think what I would do now is I would loop through these things. I would just give everything a class and loop through these for these messages, these error messages. Um, so we can listen for submit without actually submitting, right? Yeah, because this is prevent default. Your form was submitted. So here's the buttons. Here's the text area. So these are selects. I guess everything should be probably required, right? Well, okay, would we want to require? Would I want to require a GitHub repo URL? Some of these things are going to need to be required, right? So let's start with that. So name is going to be required. Email is going to be required. And this is going to be required. Do I require the field set? Is that what I require? I wouldn't want to require, if it's hidden and required, is that going to prevent the form from being submitted? I don't know. Okay, well, let's here's our conditional groups. Here's our field set. Let's just start with the name and email. We're going to stick with light validation. How's that? I'm not going to worry about, I'm going to make sure that this question gets answered, the name and because it says light validation, keep validation light. So name and email will be required. One of these three things will be required. Nothing inside here is going to be required. I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm not going to make the text area required. And then we'll have a success message. If everything else passes, we're not actually getting a response back saying that the form was submitted successfully. We're just saying, hey, your form was submitted, right? Because I'm not connecting this to anything. So here's our form, our success message. And then let's just add error messages to these other three. So what did we do here? Here's the name. I'm going to copy these. And here's the email. And then I'm going to say error message. What is this? This is the interest error. Please select your interest. There. So we'll just go ahead and check these individually. I don't think that's the end of the world. It's hard to loop through Can I just loop through anything with a required attribute? Can you even put required on a field set? I can't put required on individual inputs, right? If I have a field set with radio inputs, can I make the field set required? No. So how do you make the radio group required? Choose one. Why this works. Radios are grouped by name. If any one radio in the group has required, the browser enforces one of these must be selected. Accessibility note, you're already thinking this way. Field set plus legend is exactly, well, that's your code, but okay, I'll take credit, I guess. If you're using no validate and handling things manually, you'll need to check document query selector input name option checked. If null, show error. Okay. Okay. And Abdallah is here. Hello, welcome. I'm doing well. I'm hanging in there. How are you doing? Abdallah from Egypt is one of my earliest subscribers. Like, I think Abdallah found me before I even had 100 subscribers. So, and yeah, those were the days, huh? Thanks for coming to hang out. I appreciate it. I always love having you here. Okay. So we can't have required on the field set, totally fine. So we'll just go ahead and put it on the first one, And then that means apparently that any of them needs to be shown. And we're just going to define name, email, and inquiry type as three separate. So I don't think I'm going to need this, but this is going swimmingly. I'm pleased with this. I'm glad we're past the hard part. We did the whole conditional part, right? And then we'll go work on our debounce search input. So let's grab our name, root, query selector. This is input, name, inquiry type. Oh, I guess we already have, well, we have all the radio buttons. But yeah, technically we're probably going to be doing another for each. But it doesn't need to be on the event listener. Oh, and this is actually name equals name. So we're checking these. So we're going to end up doing another loop, but I think that's fine because we can just put it right down here, right? It doesn't need to be inside this event listener. It just needs to be, we just need to loop through and make sure one of these must be checked, right? So we're just checking to see. So we'll do that one first, and then we'll do and then we'll just check the other two. Is there a more efficient way to do that? Form field, form field, form field set. I mean, I could try to combine all of these inputs into one array, right? That sounds complicated. We're just gonna do it the way that my brain knows how to do it right now. So first we're gonna check to see the type, to make sure the type is checked. So it's gonna be type query selector input name inquiry type checked. So we're going to look for checked equals the type query selector input name inquiry type checked. And then we're just going to say if checked equals null, then we want the interest error up here. Yeah, I have a feeling that this is something that I'll refine over time. I'm sure there's a way to combine this and make this a little less verbose. But you know, you can't tighten it up if you don't even know how to do it to begin with, right? So this would be name error equals root query selector name error. So if checked equals null, then we want the interest error hidden should equal false, right? Which means the reset should also reset these. So we might have to make sure that there's a reset and we're going to have to do a submit also, right? So we're looking for a submit on the form. Oh, so this is, because this is looking for checked on submit. So so for the validation, you have to get the submission on the form. Because how do you know if it's checked if you're not clicking the submit button? Yeah. So that's going to be separate. That's fine. Let's do that. Root. Oh, it's getting more complicated. That's okay. Okay. So we're going to do this again. No problem. And then this is going to go in here. Well, and we need it to be E, prevent default. There. So this is the conditional. Let's put a note here. Logic to show groups based on radio input. And then this is light form validation. And then this is reset the form and hide the errors, right? So what else do we need to do on reset? We're not just going to hide the groups on reset. We also have to make sure that we are doing any of our, I think we can just do all three of these, right? So on reset, we're resetting the fields, and then we're just making sure that everything, this doesn't have to be inside that loop. We're making sure everything gets reset. So we'll test that, but I think that'll take care of that. Okay, so back to the form validation. So here's the validation specific to the radio buttons. So let's say radio inputs. Then what? Then we want the name input. So hidden false, well, I have to put in an else. True. So if checked is null, and we actually did null, well, it wouldn't be an empty string because it's a radio button. So null is fine. These will be null or an empty string because they're different. We found that out last time. So for the name input, how did I do this? If the name value or the name is an empty string. Okay, so if name value equals null or name value equals an empty string. Then name error hidden equals false, so we want to show it, else this is true, hide it. And we want to make sure that we're doing that and returning. And I think we can just copy this for the email. I mean, I can see now where we would just get both inputs and loop through them, just like we're doing through the radio buttons. Should I be doing that? I feel like I should. What are they? Type. No, I'm not going to worry about it. Because I would have to make, I can't do type. See, they've got different types. They've got different names. They got different IDs. I could just give them the same classes and do it. No, I'm not going to worry about it. In the future, I think I would just loop through that. Okay, so now we're checking the inputs on submit. Oh, and this is actually, I'm gonna put that there, put that there. So we're checking the radio buttons, we're checking the name, we're checking the email. I think this is gonna take care of our reset. So we've got light validation, but we've also showing and hiding the right groups. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, so first. All right. So now if I click again, that goes away, but this one appears. And then if I click again, please select your interest. Right there. So that should probably be a little more, we should style those also. Let's make sure that those are styled. And I'm also going to put that outside of the field set. It looks a little weird inside. So where is it here? Right here. We'll style those. We'll just make those red. So these are the class error message. Let's give those a style now. I'm surprised I didn't style those last time. Error. Okay. Where's our forms? Oh my God. Where's the effing forms? Here. Okay. I'm just going to say error message. Color, red. Okay, that should only show up. Okay, I think I got that logic wrong. Let's see here. I don't think I need this anymore. So interest error. Was that showing up before? I don't remember. Just curious if it has something to do with where it's located. No. Okay, so my logic is a little bit off with the radio buttons. Let's see what's happening here. Because it shouldn't, we shouldn't see it until we get to that part, right? So what did I do? Should I put the, let's put this last, maybe. Maybe it's just in the wrong spot. Okay. this again. Also, there we go. So we should see these cleared one at a time. There we go. So I feel like we should listen for this, right? The change event, and then we should remove that. So I think we can do that. So if that's selected and we try to hit that, which it's not even working. So maybe I mean, we definitely want to do this. Maybe it's the else that just doesn't work here. Maybe this. Maybe this just needs to be up here, right? So as soon as we detect a change on the type, we are automatically hiding that error message, but we still need to do this on submit. Yeah. Oh. So this, I don't think this logic is working. That's the problem. So this probably did. I mean, I think we need to have both. Well, I think we need to have both, but I think this logic is not working. So why isn't this working? So if it's not checked, if probably, wait a second. So checked equals the button with the name of inquiry type checked. I know that's the correct name. So on form submission, if any of the checked are null, then we want to show this. There's just something wrong with my logic, I think. Let's do this. I want to just console log. What happens if I console log that? And then this would be what? See, I think this is honestly backward. I feel like this is backwards. It's hidden by default. So it's hidden true by default. But if nothing is checked, it's false, which means show it. So this would be not, this would be checked, right? This would be something is checked, so hide it. So there's something, what's wrong with the logic here? So the browser doesn't automatically add these attributes like checked to a radio button. I feel like maybe I knew that. So clearly we're not getting checked, right? Although this wouldn't console log it because it's not until it's on submit. Okay. Yeah, checked null. Okay, checked null. So it's a null value. Still null. Also, why is it, how many checks? There's only 3 buttons, so why is it doing it? So there's 3 buttons, but it's checking everything. Oh, that's why. Okay, so we're good. We're good. Okay. So if checked, so this is working. If checked equals null, then show this. It's this that's not working. So maybe does this just need to be like more explicit for the else? Else if checked does not equal null. I feel like this is. But it's still console logging null. I don't think we need this. We'll get there. We'll figure it out. Okay, so nothing is checked. I would expect to see 3 nulls. Yes. Now something is checked. We're still seeing 3 nulls. So how do you... There are 3 radio inputs. Okay, so okay, where's the documentation? So MDN radio input checked. I don't have enough information here, I don't think. Well, what does this say? Oh, I think I have this wrong right here. Checked. Did I do this wrong? Is it supposed to be that? Is that my fault or? No, see, I've copied exactly this. The checked pseudo class allows you to style radio buttons or their labels. So this is for styling. The JavaScript is this. Is that the difference? If this doesn't work, then I will copy this and show it to ChatGPT for help. So we can move along. Okay. Whoops, what happened? Okay, so it's trying to submit the form, which makes me think that this does need to be right here. Or maybe right here. Although we don't want to prevent defaults. We only want to prevent it if it's false. So this still is not working. This still is not working because there are no radio buttons selected. So this is not working. Okay. Here we go. Well, we haven't really needed a ton of help until now, so that's fine. And honestly, we got the main part of the assignment done, right? This isn't working. I used this first, then I tried dot checked. I'm not sure where the problem is. The issue is this line. Okay. Checked returns a Boolean. Oh, it never returns null. That will never work. And oh, I think it said that, didn't it? Yeah, it did say that. Access, you can read or set this value as a Boolean. Okay, I'm not even going to keep reading because, so it's if checked, so it would just be if checked, right? Or really it would be if not checked. If not checked, else, and then it would be else. Because I don't care what the actual value is. I'm just checking to see if something is checked. So if not checked, do this, else do this. So I would expect to see in the console log 1 true and 2 false, because one of them will be checked. Let's clean this up. Form testing. Okay. Oh, see, it's still trying to submit. So why isn't this stopping it from submitting? Okay, let me... Oh, it wants me to check the whole group, not loop through. If anything is checked. You want to check the whole radio group, not each radio one by one. That's the key difference. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because 1 is always going to be true and 2 are going to be false. So you're looping through everything and you're not really going to get to where you need to go, right? That's the key difference. Okay, that makes sense. So we don't want to loop through. Well, that does simplify things. Didn't even know that you could do that. So this would be the root query selector. And this is a pseudo class, and this is a selector, so that makes sense. Okay. So this would be check the radio group. Check the radio group. Because the selector will pick out whatever, if any of them are checked, right? It's just like if you use this for CSS, this would only style the thing that's checked. So you don't have to loop through. You're just checking to see if any of them are checked. Okay. Well, we're learning. We're learning. So let's try it again. Checked is null. Got it. This is probably going to try to submit the form, but it cleared everything. So it did work. It technically did work. We should probably just do, well, I don't want to remove it. I just want to copy it. Let's just do at the very, very bottom, prevent defaults, and I'll just make a note here. Not a working form. Yeah, not a working form. We'll just say remove this line if endpoint to submit. So let's try it again. But we saw that brief flash. We saw it briefly flash. So we'll just fill everything in here. So if we try to submit, there we go. And that cleared it. Right? It cleared it? I think it did. And then we should be able to reset everything. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. So this is definitely light validation. I like this. I like it. Yeah, this is a good one. Check the radio group for something. Checked. Okay. So we're right at around 2 hours and 13-ish minutes. I want to keep going. I absolutely want to keep going. I want to do our debounced search input. That's the last thing that I had on the list today. But I'm going to take a break because my coffee is cold. And honestly, I would rather have a glass of water. So I'm going to switch this out for water. And let's just take a break. Is there like, is there like an egg timer website out there someplace? Egg timer app. There's just like 10 here, we'll do 10 minutes. There we go. There we go. Okay. I'll be back in 10 minutes and we're going to continue. All right. I'm back a few minutes early. Okay. What is next? I'm very, very happy. Very happy that we're getting caught up today. Caught up on our stuff. This is good. Okay. And I'm definitely going to do some additional styling. I think I already mentioned that. Let's go ahead and commit our work. Yeah, I definitely want to do more form stuff in the future. Honestly, I should do more form. I should do this on my own website, for sure. Be good, very good practice. So, and I guess I'm not really doing anything with this success message, am I? I'm not going to worry about it. We've done enough. So, okay, let's go ahead and commit this and then we will get started on the next thing. And this is the conditional form with light validation. Main. All right. So, just to review, we're basically going to reuse the filterable list, which is just a very basic search, just based on grabbing that array, or not, it's not even an array, right? It's just the node list. So, and then it's got a no results found, but we also have a reset. So we're going to reuse that. I copied and pasted right here. I copied and pasted the same exact markup, but I haven't actually written any of this. So let's review. It was a long time ago. It was 2 weeks ago. So I definitely don't remember. Here's our filterable list. Let's take a closer look at this. So we basically have, these are the items right here. Hide the empty message on page load. So I think I'll just put the hidden right in there. I don't think we have to do this with JavaScript. Then we've got the input add event listener. So here's the text. 2 lowercase trim. Ah, yes, this was the first time that we used array from because we were filtering. Okay. And then we also used includes. So let's see here. This is the debounced search. So let's just get it working first. I'm not going to copy and paste, but we're going to type it out because I think that I do a couple things a little bit differently now. So we'll just get it working first, then we'll add that debounced step. I'm going to move this over here. And there. This down here. So this is search. Okay, hang on, I can't read this. No, here's the navigation down here. have to zoom back out. Can't read anything. So this is debounced search. So this will be our root item that we scope everything to. Okay, so we'll start with this. It is, I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's a really nice day today in Minnesota, and I live in downtown St. Paul. I live in downtown St. Paul is a very small city. I mean, very small. Minneapolis is really the big city of the two, and we are right next to each other, right? The Twin Cities. Downtown St. Paul, very, very small. And there's also on the back end of St. Paul, there's this long stretch of highway. This very long stretch of highway. And for a mile on that stretch of highway, there are no stoplights. And it goes much, much longer. But there's just this one little strip of that highway with no stoplights that lasts for a mile. And people treat it like it's a place to drag race, and it's so noisy. And so even in downtown with the highway just outside of downtown, it's so loud. It's so loud. And cars like drag race up and down this highway at night. Motorcycles, especially when the weather is nice, they just like zoom up and down and up and down. It's so loud. There's another one. Oh my gosh. So the weather's beautiful. I'm glad that everybody's outside enjoying life, but they're also just really loud. So if you're wondering, nobody asked, but it's just so loud. Okay, so there's our root container. Yeah, so let's get each of these things, because all of these have the same names. So here's our input for the filter input. Here's our reset button. And then these are the card items. Yeah, I have no problem reusing these. So we're going to let the input equal the root query selector. We'll get our reset. And then we'll get our items. Yeah, I don't ever think I've put on a timer and gone and taken a break before. I think honestly that I should be doing that more often. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Get up, stretch my legs, refresh my drink. So I think we definitely want to get our empty state, but we don't need to set that attribute in the JavaScript. So let's do that. So here's our empty state. We're going to make it hidden by default. So we can skip this. This is just empty state. And Malik says, I don't know what it is, but since I have been designing so much, it feels nostalgic to look at VS Code. And then he also says, every 30 or hour, take a break, get water, stretch legs. I honestly think that it would help my stress level also during the streams. Now, I think I'm a little stressed out. I'm stressed out for a couple of reasons. Nobody asked, but I'm going to tell you. First of all, I took on a new client. It's a 90-day contract that ends on June 30th, and this is never a bad thing. It is always good to have clients and people that want to hire you. And it added extra work to my plate at the exact moment. It was kind of a last minute thing. It added extra work to my plate at a time when I was like, oh, I'm going to stream for 30 days in a row and do this kind of like complex stuff that is a little more difficult for me to do. So it just added stress, right? And that's fine. Stress is fine. Stress is not a bad thing. It's how you deal with it. But I do feel like I've been on kind of a short I've been a little short-tempered the last few days, which is a me problem, not a you problem. But I don't exactly want that to show up in the streams either, and I think it has been. So, okay, well, whatever. It is what it is. But also, the streams can get stressful sometimes, even if I'm not streaming every day, even if I'm not doing extra client work, it can just get stressful, right? Depending on what's going on in the chat. Even if I'm trying to solve a CSS problem, which I consider myself very good at writing CSS, but I still run into things, and that can create stress, right? It just creates frustration. It's the normal part of the development process. I do think that I should be getting up and taking more breaks, and then maybe it would be easier to stream a little longer than 2, maybe 3 hours, which I don't want to make it a habit into streaming like 3 or 4 hours. I don't think that's healthy, and those videos are difficult to edit. Not that I'm caught up with editing by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe we should be taking more breaks, promoting breaks, right? It happens. It's the real, if you write code, you know what it's like, right? Deep cleansing breath. Okay, so now we're just going to do on our input our event listener. And again, we're going to do the debounce after. We're just going to get this working first. And then we're going to get our text. I don't think it needs to be let. Text equals e target value 2 lowercase, right? We can do this all at once. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's make sure that works. So happy I'm getting caught up today. So happy. Talk about stress. That's stressing me out. Not being caught up. Not being on time. Okay. Whoops. We're on the right page, right? Okay. So probably we do have to. There's probably a reason why I did that. Text 2 lowercase trim input Oh, do I have this, hang on. Do I have the correct thing linked? I do not. Right here. Okay, so let's see if what we did the first time was allowed. Yeah, that's fine. We don't have that set up yet. I feel like this should be fine, right? You shouldn't have to do that twice. Okay. So now we're going to make an array from the items. I vaguely remember doing this. Matched items. Array from items. And then filter. Can't we do this? Filter item. Stop. Array from items. Filter the item. We're going to get the match, which is the item text content to lowercase. Includes text. I don't remember writing this at all, but I believe that this is how it's done because this works. So, and then I remember after I did this, immediately implementing it on as part of the site navigation. So, but I haven't looked at it in 2 weeks. So this is another thing. I mean, search is another thing that I'm going to make sure that we're adding to every single build that we do, that I do. So, okay. So if there's a match, hide list items if not matched. So if there's no match, item hidden equals true. Else item hidden equals false. And then here's our reset button. So reset the input and show the list items. And that's inside the filter. So here's our reset. Add event listener. Click. Clear the input value with an empty string. Item hidden is false. Remove attribute, so that's the same as false. And then we have this empty attribute. That gets set to true. Remove attribute means it's false. Set attribute means it's true. Got it? And then we're returning match at the end. show empty message if no matches. So still inside, we're still inside the event listener. Right here. So if matches, if matched items length is equal to 0, so nothing, then empty, hidden, false. Empty, hidden equals false. Else, empty, hidden equals true. Okay, so we'll make sure that this works first. Okay, so far so good. We're console logging. What, no lemons? Our reset works. Okay, so far so good. Now the debouncy part, right? Just a little bigger. Okay. So I feel like I need to, we don't need this anymore. Here we go. So debounced search input, simple filter UI. Debounce behavior, the whole point. When a user types, wait roughly 300 to 500 milliseconds after they stop typing, then run your filter function. If they keep typing, reset the timer. Don't run the filter yet. This is the key learning piece. So we already did the filter logic. Nice to have optionals, but still light. Excuse me. So show no results found, that's done. Highlight the matching text. I mean, we're basically doing that because we're filtering out things that don't match. We do have a clear button. Minimum character requirement, only search after 2 characters. So I feel like this would be a nice to have, right? Concepts you'll practice: input event, set timeout, and clear timeout. This is the debouncing. So do you just put like a set timeout around the whole entire thing? Is that it? I don't think it's that. And then you have to clear the timeout. What done looks like: typing quickly, nothing happens immediately. Pause typing, list updates once. But I don't think this goes around the entire thing. I feel like it goes directly inside the event listener because the filtering starts here, right? So maybe the set timeout actually goes here. I have have to adjust this. So this would go here, right? Because the input has to know that text is being put in and then wait. So why do you have to clear the timeout if it just runs? That's what I'm not sure about. Why do you have to clear it? Doesn't it just listen for input? Well, let's try this and see what happens. And we're console logging, so we should see that. Okay, so I don't exactly think that's working. Oh, but this is just the console log. And also, did we wait long enough? A half a second. Let's do something let's do a full second, just because, to illustrate the point. Okay, I think that did work. But is it just wait? Is it actually waiting till I'm done typing? Or is it just waiting for the input? So as soon as you start typing, and I don't think we would want a set timeout on these other things, right? So this is like reset button, and then if no matches, okay. So is it waiting for, does the timer start when I start typing, or does the timer start when I'm done typing? So let me just try to type something. Okay. So we do have to have it around the whole thing. Because it can't get that value. So I think it does need to be around the whole thing. Okay, so go back to my original question. Yeah, so it's the timer starts when I start typing, not when I'm done typing. So I feel like it's, maybe I'm not understanding the pattern. Typing quickly, nothing happens immediately. Pause typing, list updates once. Okay, so I have questions. I have questions, ChatGPT. Okay. Let's talk about debounce. Does the timer start when I begin typing or after I stop typing? I think it is begin. It starts when you type, not after you stop. Okay, that's good. But here's the important nuance. It only finishes if you stop typing. Got it. Because that's not happening. So yeah, it's going immediately. It continues to go. So let's try. This is my, yeah, see? Okay. So let's finish reading here. Well, we got that part right. Okay, so every time you type, you clear the previous timer, you start a new timer. So the timeline looks like this. Type, start timer. Type again, cancel previous timers. Oh, so probably you have to, so that's where you do the clear timeout. So you do the clear timeout first, then you start doing the input, and then you have the set timeout. But then if you stop and start again, then it clears it and starts over. Let's look at the documentation. This is fun. Okay, the clear timeout method of the window interface cancels a timeout previously established by calling window set timeout. If the parameter provided does not, so I bet you just do it right at the beginning. So do we have to give this a name, like const input timer equals set timeout, and then we would just clear it at the beginning? If timer, clear it. Listen for typing. Yeah, does that seem right? If timer, clear it. But I don't know if this is going to... So I'm not sure where to put this. Does it need to be... I feel like... Maybe this has to be on the outside, because it's not waiting for me to finish typing. Let's keep reading. Okay. Type, start timer. Type again, cancel previous timer, start new timer. Type again, cancel, start new. Stop typing. Timer finally completes, function runs. It starts when you type, not after you stop. But here's the nuance. It only finishes if you stop typing. But if the timer's only a second, how does it not finish? Think of it like this. Run this after the user has been quiet for 300 milliseconds, not wait 300 milliseconds after the first keystroke. Okay. Run this after the user has been quiet for 300 milliseconds. So it's not a timer on this, it's okay, let's get this out of here. This is interesting. Where do I put this? So the timer doesn't know to even start until somebody starts typing. But it can't. Oh, wait. Where did I see something that said literally a keyword that was like wait? See, and this takes multiple things. Is there something in here where you can tell it to wait? Delay. A non-negative integer indicating how long the timer should wait. I'm going to Google it. I know I think I already saw it someplace. Debounced search form vanilla JavaScript. I Googled this earlier. Okay, so let's see what this says. A debounced search form in vanilla JavaScript prevents a search function from executing on every single keystroke. Instead, it waits for a specific period of inactivity, not typing, before firing. So here's how. So function debounce function delay equals 300. Let timer. Full example. Here's our search input. Here's the actual input. Create the debounced version. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here for safekeeping. So maybe this whole thing needs to be inside of a function. So I'm going to call this the search filter. Okay. So here's our search filter. Oh, but not the whole thing. The event listener is still on the input. So we do want this to be here. Okay. Okay. Equals the debounce event. Oh. And then we're going to move this up. Get our search filter. And this is the event target value. Will this work? Remains to be seen. Oh, I don't think so, because this is, see, we have to have this too. See, this is what I didn't want to do. I didn't just want to copy and paste something. The problem is I look at this and I'm like, I don't know what this means. This has new meaning to me. So I don't think I should do this. So let's look at something. Oh, look at that. Is Google just trying to like make me feel good by doing this, by putting my own videos that I posted 18 hours ago? Oh, this looks complicated. Okay, there's got to be an easier way to do this, right? I understand the gist, which is that I'm just going to go back here. I'm just going to get back to my Okay, so here's our event listener. So it does have to go inside here. I feel like I should just be able to put the set timeout around this, but I have to make sure that it's waiting. So how do I make it wait until the timer is activated when I start typing, but it doesn't time anything until I'm done typing. So it does need to be inside the event listener, but it has to wait. Oh, and Malika's telling me to take a break. I'm good. I'm good. It's only been less than an hour since I've been here, so let the brain juices settle some. Oh, that's fair. So the timer has to, the timer has to start. The timer is activated when you start typing, but it doesn't time anything until you are done typing. So that makes me think that there's like the input, there's some way to tell when the input is done. Event input. So the event fires when the value of an input element has been changed as a direct result of user action. So returns a string with the inserted characters. Input event data transfer returns a data transfer object containing information about rich text. Input type is composing returns a Boolean value indicating if the event is fired after composition start and before composition end. This example logs the value whenever you change the value of the input element. Is composing returns a Boolean value indicating if the event is fired after composition start and before composition end. Composition end event. The composition end event is fired when a text composition system, such as an input method editor, completes or cancels the current composition session. For example, this event could be fired after a user finishes entering a Chinese character using something something. Use the event name in methods like add event listener or set an event handler property. I have a feeling it's going to tell me that I'm not doing this. There's an easier way to do this, but okay. The only way I'm seeing to detect if the user has stopped typing is this event. Nope, that's not the right signal for this. Okay, so it's specific for something else. There is no event for stopped typing. Debounced works by assuming the user stopped typing if nothing happens for X milliseconds. Just the normal input add event listener input. And inside that, clear timer, start new timer. That's it. Okay. Why this works. Oh. Okay, so do we wrap this around everything? And then do this. So every time you start to input, you clear the timer. But how does it know it's just waiting? Okay. Or do you do it at the end? Do you do it before or after? Do I have an error someplace? Yes, because VS Code keeps adding semicolons. Okay. So I think it goes after. Why does VS Code add a semicolon every time? Why? Okay, so that's not working. So we probably have to do something like that. Yeah, see, it's still not waiting though. Okay, well, if it had to be initialized first, then it probably can just go back up to where it was, right? I don't know if that's going to work. I feel like you have to maybe set this value. I feel like you have to maybe define that first. I'm not. Shocking. VS Code added another semicolon. That worked. That was it. We did it. That worked. So we basically, I guess, created the variable. We clear the timer immediately on input. And then that waits. So let's change this back to like I have 500 milliseconds. Okay, that was a lot easier than those other functions. So let's try Peach. And I'm just adding some stuff. That totally worked. Lemon. Why no lemons? Okay. I think this is totally working. Heidi is my doggy. She is really cute and smelly. That totally worked. Boom. Got it. Okay, so let's show this to ChatGPT and do a little bragging, shall we? It's going to tell us all the ways that we could do better, but that's okay. Boom. Done. Okay, why is this taking so long? It's not that complicated. Okay. Malik says, recap on what you think the most useful day or thing you learned so far is. Yes, we can definitely do that. Osloy is here. Hello, welcome Osloy. I think VS Code is adding semicolons because of the plugin Prettier. I see it on the bottom right in the white on blue bar between. Yeah, probably. Prettier is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, but I also really like it. Whatever it is almost certainly something you could turn off. This seems like something an LLM might be able to help with, probably. So I could also just keep deleting it and acting annoyed. I could do that too. What's happening here? What are you doing, ChatGPT? Okay, it's working. Yes. One thing to fix. Move the reset listener outside the input listener. Right now, this runs every time the debounce finishes inside every item loop. So you'll keep adding more and more reset click listeners. Do this instead. I feel like... Okay, that's fine. So I think this is our... It condensed this. And it also added clear the timer here as well. Okay. We'll try it. Okay, let's see how it goes. This is my apple and I really love it. Oh, that's not, see, that didn't work. Item is not defined. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Acting annoyed. I mean, acting, not fixing it and just continuing. There's nothing wrong with that either, right? Apples are my favorite. There, look at that. Banana. There it is. And our reset button does work. I do not like watermelon. I do not like, that's real. I do not like watermelon. I like anything that looks like a watermelon. I think anything that looks like a watermelon is adorable. It's so cute. I actually knitted a pair of watermelon socks. I'm going to go get them. I'm going to show you the socks. Hang on 1 second. So if you're new here, you probably don't know that I am also a knitter. And technically I never finished the second sock. I only finished the first sock. It's on my very long list of things to finish knitting. Right here. It's a watermelon sock. I knit this. How cute is this? It's adorable. It was so fun to knit. I really need to finish the second one. How cute is this? So I love anything that looks like a watermelon. Actual watermelon, I can't stand. Cannot stand. So, yes, a solid example of battle picking. Agreed. Oslo, you're very good at succinctly summarizing how I'm feeling at any given moment. So, let's see here. I think we're good. So our reset button works. The debounce is very simple. It's very simple compared to those examples that we were being shown on Google, which is, I'm not implying that those were wrong. I'm just trying to remove complexity. That's all I really feel. That's all I really care about, is removing complexity. So I'm going to leave the console log in because all of this is meant to be educational. Yeah, this debounce thing is really cool. You know where this would have come in really handy a couple of years ago? When I was learning Vue.js, I did a Udemy course on Vue, and it was specific to using the YouTube API to search for videos. And if you've ever used a free version of the YouTube API, or at least this is how it was, you get so few API calls. I mean, they just burn up so quickly, and this would have come in extremely handy because every keystroke on that input event just burned API calls. And I couldn't even finish the tutorial. It took me days to finish the tutorial because I was just burning through those free API calls trying to learn how to do a search on the YouTube API. So there's that. Anyways, this works great. I love this. I love this. This is obviously going to come in really handy. Super simple. Wrap the whole thing in a timer. Clear it as soon as the input starts. I had never even heard of debouncing an input. I'd never even heard that term before, until this project. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is also going to come in really handy. So let's go ahead and commit this. And I will also go ahead and deploy. Debounced search input. And we said we met our goal today too. We're only technically a day behind now. So tomorrow we'll look at what we're going to work on tomorrow. And we will finish. We absolutely will finish what we want to get done. We're going to finish by the 30th period because we're going to take breaks. That's the key, isn't it? It's taking breaks, especially when we're frustrated. And by we, I mean me. So we're going to take breaks. We're going to finish on time, and we're going to do what we set out to do. Okay. Let's open up FileZilla. And then I'm going to be working on pages. I'm going to try to get the rest of the pages built this evening. That is my project for tonight. And then when we do finish on Thursday, which is the 30th, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to take the weekend off, come back the following Tuesday. I would like to take a break for a couple of days. But what I would really like to do that weekend is styles, because the whole site needs like a once over on styles, and just do a good thorough QA on every single page, and then get this project like really wrapped up over the weekend, right? Although, you know what we could do on the weekend? We could just do the styles together on the weekend. That's easy. I could still take Friday off and we could just style on Saturday and Sunday and like really wrap things up. I'm open to that. I mean, that's what I was going to do anyways. Yeah. Hmm. So let's see here. 21, 22, 23. And our CSS. I'm going to think about it. I think that honestly, we could finish our last project Thursday. I can take Friday off, and then we could just style stuff over the weekend. Yeah. And then we can put a bow on it together. All right. Oh yeah. So at Christmas time, I was knitting mini stocking Christmas tree ornaments, and I did like 5 or 6, and I posted them on Instagram. That was so fun. Because I was able to do those in like an hour, really fast. So here's our pagination. And I think everything's working because we don't see the load more. So I'll make sure that I get our code in here, and then here's our conditional. Let's make sure that this is working. Right. Beautiful. And then if we just hit inquiry, nothing happens. But also, we can reset. Nice. Perfect. Now let's check this. Yeah, I think that's working. This is my list of fruit. Yeah. Oh, love it. Grapes. That's awesome. I'm going to add that to this too, so we're not... Yeah, I think I will add it to that. Although maybe not. I don't know. I don't hate sometimes. I mean, I'm not doing any API calls, right? I can see where the value in that, just knowing from my own experience what it's like to get locked out of data because I ate up too many API calls, that's where that seems really valuable. But also, it is a good user experience to just wait for that pause, right? Yeah. Wow, great day. We had a great day. Okay, so tomorrow, again, I want to double up and try to get both of these done tomorrow. I think that's completely doable since we are basically caught up to where I wanted to be today. URL query params, state in URL, basic routing, no framework. I'm really looking forward to both of these. I've done URL query params before. That was pretty common when I worked at St. Thomas because we had so much data, we worked with so much data. We were constantly building like filters, event calendars. All the schools and colleges just had multiple filters and event calendars. Plus we had like program finders for undergraduate and graduate. And they really liked it when we could pre-filter a filter. And I always did that with URL query parameters. So because they would link then the schools and colleges, like as an example, the undergraduate program finder, like the various schools and colleges would link to specific programs in the program finder, right? And then, of course, basic routing without a framework. Didn't even occur to me that you could do that with vanilla JavaScript. So I'm excited to learn that too. So I'm going to try to get the rest of these pages built tonight. There's 7. We'll see how it goes. That's aggressive. I'm going to try. Maybe I can get 4 built tonight. But we're almost done. We're going to be done on Thursday this week. Malik said, recap on what you think the most useful day or thing you learned so far. Well, my favorite thing that I've learned so far is loading YouTube videos on click, something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, and now it's practically trivial. I would say the most useful thing I've learned so far, well, for sure, set timeout is incredibly useful. I think understanding form validation has been really useful because prior to day 9, when we did the first set of form validation states, I just didn't, I always thought that form validation was about security, and it's really about user experience, right? Security happens on the server side. Client side form validation is about providing a good user experience. So once I got that clarity, that made a huge difference. So I think that that's incredibly useful. We've done a fair amount with local storage. I'm by no means an expert on that, but we had a really challenging local storage day with this task list, right? So I think that I definitely want more experience with task list. I thought the GDPR cookie consent banner was great because I was basically able to refactor code from, I think, 2 years ago on another project I had done that was a lot more complex, where we were getting the user's time zone to show. And basically I refactored that to just be like, hey, we're just going to show this to everybody who comes to visit the site. So I was pretty happy to refactor that code into something that's really very reusable for almost any project. I thought the copy to clipboard was fun. That was interesting. I thought the scroll interactions was good. My least favorite thing was the sortable table. I really had trouble with this. And I love tables. I love a good table. We love table-based data. Wow. I'm still, everything that we did in the sortable table, I think perfectly encapsulate what I need the most work with. The most work on, where I need the most work, right? And how we deal with data. I also loved transforming API data because, again, this was a chance for me to refactor something that I had done 5 years ago, and it turned out great. So anything, basically fetch, transform, and render. I really love the clarity around those 3 distinct steps. Yeah, I love that clarity. And again, it's an area where I really want to get good at the transforming and the rendering and keeping those things clean and separate. I also loved the pagination because it didn't even really occur to me. I always thought pagination literally meant extra endpoints, extra pages, extra URLs, and it doesn't. It happens all in place. So I think that's really cool. I'm happy to know that. Malik says, I thought you'd say the filterable list. I mean, I do like the filterable list. I like search for sure. The filterable list was very impactful because the same day that we did the filterable list, I immediately added it as a feature to the site. So I do like it. It's like you're asking me to pick my favorite child. I don't think I can. There are things I don't like that were more challenging or more frustrating, but they're the things that really stand out. I mean, the number one thing is the loading the YouTube video on click. That is my absolute favorite, but everything has been impactful in its own specific way. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, it's just been an incredible experience to do all this. So, I didn't not like the filterable list. Should we wrap it up? If you didn't already know, this is the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. When I'm not doing 30-day sprints, I'm generally here Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and we just build stuff and practice and have a good time. Do me a favor, would you be so kind as to like this video if you haven't already? Subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Everybody, thank you it was a quiet day, but it was extremely productive. So thank you to everybody who came to hang out. I appreciate all of you. Come back tomorrow. We're going to work on query parameters and basic routing. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.